Hello, everybody. We're here. It is the week of. We are finally here. Some people think the week starts on Sunday. Some people think the week starts on Monday. But whatever you believe, whatever side of that you're on, it is now the week of the 2025 NFL Draft. And we've got one more show to bang out here before we get to that draft. So I am Brendon. That is Brandon. How you doing today, Brandon?
Oh, it's draftmas season, man. It's full on now. We're here. I can smell it. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. It's an interesting time. Every team in the league has an opportunity to really shape their fate for the next several years. And the Seahawks in particular have an opportunity to really shape their fate. There are teams out there like the Vikings that don't really have a lot of picks. There's not a lot that they can necessarily do. So you look at a team like the Seahawks that has 10 picks, including 5 in the top 92, and it's like, yeah, fortunes could be made or lost in this next week.
On top of, I think your points, which are salient ones, is the aspect of the teams trying to trade up. Is that we're hearing in this late hour as we approach the draft now about seemingly there's this weird thing where rather than the quarterbacks all being taken in that top 10 plays, where these teams are going to try to get cute, Brendon, it sounds like in a Cleveland or a New York team waits to get on into maybe the teens to where now they'll be willing to trade up to go get their quarterback, essentially trying to leapfrog Pittsburgh, who suddenly has become mightily desperate for a quarterback with Aaron Rodgers not making the call there in that location.
Mm-hmm. Right. So we're hearing a lot of things lately. We're hearing a lot of things about quarterbacks, like you said. We're hearing about Tyler Shock maybe being the number one quarterback on some teams' boards. We're hearing stuff about Jackson Dart. We're hearing stuff about Jalen Milroe. We're hearing all kinds of fun stuff. And some of it does include the Seahawks. What I would say is that don't believe everything you hear, especially right now. We've done this for a few years now. And I remember very clearly before pretty much every draft over the last few years, there have been a lot of rumors about what the Seahawks are doing. And none of them have really ended up being true. I remember the big rumor in 2022 was we wanted to draft Trevor Penning, and then we wanted to trade back into the first round to take a quarterback at the back end of the first. Neither of those things happened, even though we had ample opportunity to do both. You've heard all kinds of rumors about how the team wanted to take, a quarterback 2 years ago in the first round. They did not. Just a lot of different things that you hear right now, and I just wouldn't bet your sanity on any of it.
If you're a general manager, wouldn't you utilize that as a methodology to your approach, being that I am going to purposefully leak out to my sources things that are meant to send people off the trail and send the scent off into the forest a little bit? And I would be doing that right and left if I was a GM.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just as an example, this year, one of the rumors that I've heard, and this one actually comes from Brady Henderson, who's pretty good at this stuff. Apparently, the Seahawks are looking to trade up in the first round to take Jalen Walker, is the rumor. And now, I mean, I would have mixed feelings about that personally, but objectively, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like, I don't know why we would do that. I don't know why we would feel some great urgency to get Jalen Walker. I don't know why we would feel like we need to trade up to get him. So that's something that I look at, and I know people are going to look at that and go, oh, that's going to happen. And it sounds to me like it's just stuff that people say. I wouldn't put a lot of stock into that right now.
Yeah, I'd struggle with that one myself with Walker on, especially a guy who doesn't really fit to the dimensions. I mean, he's a guy you think would work in the defense, but then are you going to trade up to target him, being that he doesn't really fit to the sizes that you're looking for off of your edges? I mean, maybe Mike's just that flexible with it, but until I see that he is, I'm going to say that that's probably very unlikely.
Right. So I hear something like that, and I just kind of think to myself, well, that's probably more smoke. That's probably some more smoke. Yeah, I've heard about, the Seahawks want Tyler Shock in the first round. That sounds like smoke to me as well, especially after they signed Drew Lock. I think that almost shuts the door on taking a quarterback with a high pick in this draft almost. So I think they're just messing around. So whatever you hear right now, do not panic, and or do not celebrate too hard either, because anything you hear could be fabricated from nothing very easily.
Probably it's most likely to be fabricated from nothing, most likely.
All right. So today's show is going to be, and we've done shows like this before, but we've never done it like exactly this before, where we do mock drafts. We use the mock draft simulators, but the idea is that we're going to have a little bit of a contest here to see who can do the best. And we're basically going to approach this draft from the same angle. We're both controlling the Seahawks in our own separate mock drafts. And we have some basic rules in place. Like it would be way too easy to abuse the system with trades. So I think we kind of came up with the rule here that we should only do one trade per mock draft, right?
That's right. Yeah, I think that's the best way to do it here. And then you got to tactically choose where you're going to go.
Right. And we're going to start with Pro Football Network's mock draft, I believe.
Yeah, Pro Football. Yeah.
And hopefully that goes well. If it does, then great. There are other simulators out there. There are probably like 12 of them, honestly. And most of them are good. Not all of them are good, but most of them are pretty good.
Yeah. Especially when you get down to this line, they're doing a better job about updating them so that you're getting something closer to line to where the last bit of evaluations are at on these guys.
Okay, so I just pulled up a coin flip simulator. So you want to call heads or tails?
I'll go heads.
All right, I'm flipping the coin. All right, we have. Okay, come on. Okay.
it's a long flip.
It doesn't have to simulate the whole flip. I just want heads or tails. Okay. Okay, we did get tails.
Okay.
So I guess I'll go ahead and lead off with my first pick, and then you go with your first pick. And to be clear, our mocks are living in their own universe, right? Your mock does not affect mine, and my mock does not affect yours.
Right.
Okay, so let's take a look here. So this is mine, and Brandon, when it's your turn, I can put yours up on the screen as well. So for the moment, what we're going to do is we're going to pick the Seahawks.
Go fast too. You want to select fast on the thing.
Yeah, and you also want to go fast. Okay, so enter solo draft. And okay, so let's check and see. There are a couple things I want to see in this top 8 real quick. Okay, I think I'm pretty locked in here. Okay, I think I want to let it ride at this point. I'm not moving up.
Okay.
I was thinking about it. I would have done it in a certain scenario, but I'm not going to do it in this scenario. Okay, so resume. Ooh, okay, so we have trade offers, which I need to okay, first let's take a look at where the board fell. So a couple of interesting developments here would be McMillan goes to the Saints. Shamar Stewart, 10 overall. Wow. I don't know about that one.
Yeah, I don't see him going that high, but I mean, he's also such a freakazoid. It just takes one team to say we'll turn him into Myles Garrett.
Okay, Detroit trades up to 14 to get Mike Green. I also don't know about that one. But
I can see Detroit doing that actually. They're kind of like that where it's like the go for fourth down, take the risk. That's totally Campbell.
Okay, so Michael Williams, that's a little bit of a heartbreaker right there, admittedly. But we also have, let's see, Jahdae Barron going here, Loveland going here. Okay, so who's remaining? I think it's very interesting that Shadur Sanders is still there at 18th overall. I'll put that in my back pocket for the time being. Matthew Golden is still here. We've got Derek Harmon, Starks, Worry, Brooks. Wow, Jihad Campbell. Interesting. So PFN, not a big Kenneth Grant fan. I got to be honest, man.
Yeah,
that is something that I look at and I go like, I don't think I agree with that. So let me take a look at these trade offers now real quick here. So Arizona wants me to trade all the way back to 47 and get a third rounder, a fourth rounder, and a second next year. That's not that interesting to me. Chargers, this is not bad. I don't mind this. That's trading back 4 spots and you pick up an extra third rounder. Okay, we got the Titans here. So, see, in real life, here's my thinking right now. Here's what I'm thinking at the moment. Are you okay if I take a little bit of time to talk through this a
Yeah,
little
you're good.
bit and give my
Yeah,
thoughts?
yeah.
I would try to trade down with the Saints and see if they want Shadur. I
Mhm.
would hit up the Saints and be like, hey, you want to send us that 2026 first round pick and you get Shadur? That is something that I would be looking at to do in this scenario. But
And their second rounder. You're looking second rounder this year.
right. So I'd pick up their 40th overall, and then I'd pick up their first rounder next year.
Gotcha.
However, because there's still a lot of stuff I'm still pretty into here, I'm not really overly attached to anything going on right now in this draft. I kind of want to take that Chargers offer. I kind of want to take that Chargers offer where I move back 4 spots and pick up a third rounder. I don't think that's bad at all. So I think I'm going to accept that. And this is going to be my one trade. I think that generally speaking, you're better off using your trade now than later, because later on the draft is going to be moving so fast that it's going to be hard to even keep track of stuff. So I think I'm going to take this.
Are you selecting it in the StreamYard thing, or are you selecting it in the app?
I'm selecting it. You guys can see it on my screen, right? The trade.
I can. It just says it doesn't show it as accepted on it. Like you're hitting the buttons.
Yeah. Okay. There we go.
Oh, there we go. Okay, sorry. I was like, it's not working.
Okay. So I missed out on Golden, which I'm okay with. And Manwari, I mean, I like him, but I don't know about taking him at this high. Campbell, I would have liked Campbell, but I can also live without him. And then Shadur goes to Pittsburgh. So like you were saying, Pittsburgh needs the quarterback. They get the quarterback.
I think your scenario on the Saints is what they're going to try to, if it's not the Saints or the Giants or some other team wants to get in front of Pittsburgh, I think we're the real candidate for that to be the team to do it, because John likes to move back.
All right, real quick here. I can get the Eagles.
You did your one trade.
64.
You did your one trade. You did your one trade.
Right. I just wanted to see what the offers would be.
Okay.
So that being the case, PFN is not going to like this very much, but I think I'm gonna go Kenneth Grant. I think he's the best player left. I think that is what I'm currently leaning towards. I'm a big fan of Harmon, but we don't really need another 3 tech. I do like Starks, but I like Ken Grant more. I know that there's guys like Simmons and Booker that maybe we could use a little bit more, but I think Ken Grant's the best player. So to heck with PFN. I think that's where I'm going here, man. So let's punch that in. And then I'm going to go ahead and pause there and swing the controls over to you. Sound good?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So your turn.
So I'm going to go pretty straightforward on this. I'm not looking to move up in this draft. I just don't think I really want the more of the bites into day 2 than I want trying to move up and target some guys specifically in this draft.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you, I had a trade in place on the Bleacher Report creator mock draft earlier last week for number 11 to move up to get Membo. And then I got sniped. But I was this close to getting Membo, man. That is a guy I'm trading up to number 10 or number 11 or number 9 or whatever for. That is the guy I was keeping an eye on. I was like, that's the guy I want.
I can certainly understand taking the approach with that one. I just really feel like when I walk through these halls and I keep doing it over and over again, and I come through with having that extra pick into day 2, it just seems to come out the other side of it where it's just a better draft to me and how it looks, and that you're able to just fill so much more up across the board and set your team up in such a better place. And I love Mabo. Don't get me wrong. I just don't quite have the blue chip grade on Mabo. There's still places he's got to come forward in his game. Even lately, we've heard a little bit more about maybe there's some slight work ethic stuff with him, a little bit with it. In addition to it on that, as far as concerns, I don't think it's like glaring, but just would be enough to maybe make me a little bit hesitant on that side of it. As far as for the trades for me, we'll see what we've got here. I am going to be moving back here kind of come hell or high water. I don't really want to move back as far as these trades go, so I'm going to try to see if I can make a trade work here.
Shadur is on your board as well. Look at that.
Yeah, so for me, again, on this is going to be draft philosophy for me on this. When I look at the guys on the board here and I go through that, I don't differentiate really that much between all of these guys. I don't. I mean, a guy like Jod Campbell might have a little more star power than potential, but that doesn't really, to me, make a lot of sense for where we're at with our inside linebacker room. And the rest of these guys, when I go down the list and line on all of them, it's all in about the same place for me. And that's where we come down to just the glut in this draft is about player 11 to about player 75. And that you can make an argument for all of the players into that mark of there being upsides and relatively similarities to them, I think, all the way down the line on them. And so I just am not falling as much in love with them. Like for instance, you look at a Colston Loveland. How's the blocking? Not a lot of production as a pass catcher. Is that really a first round worthy deal? Is that something Matthew Golden, 1 year of production, love the 1 year of production, but it's really only 1 year of production out there at Texas. You can go through these Walter Nolan. I don't like Walter Nolan that much at all. I begrudgingly gave him a second round grade. Jada Barron, short arms, is going to work. So you can kind of go blow by blow to me through all of these guys. Emeka Ibuka, slot. James Pierce, don't think he really fits. And I kept coming back around to this on this where it just goes, look, it's just, there's nobody here that I really have to go and jump for that I'm going, this is the guy that I have to absolutely have here. And so I am going to go ahead and do a trade. I'm going to go with Baltimore, eventually very similar to kind of deal that you ran, a little bit different where I'm dropping back just a little bit more, but I'm going to go to 91. So 18, 27 and 91 here. Roll that back through. And now we've got Harmon, Starks. Could make a lot of sense here as a safety. You've got Kenneth Grant, obviously, you took, but I don't want to double us up. I'd like us to try a little bit of differentiation if we can here. Javon Ravel, probably a little early for him. Starks is a guy who's definitely in place for me here as far as really standing out. But I am going to, with having traded back, I want to take care of this draft and set the stage for this draft to go for value. And I can fill my biggest hole right now out the jump, a spot we don't have a starter for at the moment. And I can get what is probably likely to be, if not Tyler Booker, this guy to be the best left guard in the draft. And
all right,
more of a scheme fit.
I'm a fan.
So I'm going with Donovan Jackson as my left guard here at the end of the first round after trading back and picking up an extra third.
Yeah, I have heard that he is starting to move up to the point where he's almost expected to be a first round pick.
It's that left tackle experience he has that's just going to solidify it. If he had just been a left guard in Ohio State, he's a second rounder, but having that tackle experience is going to really bump his stock.
All right, so since we're not doing any trades, I'll just hit resume and close my eyes, and whatever happens, happens. It's not like I'm going to trade up. So let's go through it here. And yeah, we're not doing any more trades. So now here we are at 50, and look, your prediction was correct. Walter Nolan has fallen all the way to pick 50. So you may have hit the nail on the head there. All right, so the obvious value pick is Walter Nolan, but I don't think we need another 3-tech. I still have Donovan Jackson here, which is pretty remarkable, and I would be very surprised if that happens in real life.
Yeah,
say that.
I would be too. I think we should try as we can on this draft to keep it real on guys that drop. Like if there's some egregious one that falls, then
yeah, I'm kind of thinking like the Donovan Jackson thing. It's not very realistic.
Yeah, like I think I'm going to have Kenneth Grant drop on mine on the next one. So I think on both those two, those guys are going to be off the board by the time we take in the second round.
Right. Yeah. So passing on that, I am a big fan of Savai Naia. I think that he offers some really good flexibility because he played tackle in college, but I think he'll move to guard, and he's a very athletic guard, even though most of his guard experience is on the right side. So he could play he could almost potentially play like a few different positions based on what the need of the team is. So I'm thinking I'm going to do that. Let me scroll through a little bit here. Yeah, I think that's got to be it. I don't see anything else here that I'm really into. So Jonas Savai Naia of Arizona, drafting him to play one of the guard spots. I think he can move to left guard because he's athletic enough for it. That's what I'm thinking right now. And yeah, that's punching in. All right, so pausing my draft, and let's hand controls back to you.
All right, so we're at 50 as well here. I've got Mason Taylor on the board. We've got your Savannah Arante Arce. And we've got some other guys down here, which are interesting. Wide receiver. I'm going to be back in 2 picks here. So what I want to do with this, I think, is I like Arase a lot on this. That's my tackle guard flexibility. I've taken care of left guard, but this is a guy who can play tackle or right guard if our guys don't develop a guard, in my opinion. So there's definitely a draw there, Brendon.
Yeah, every couple years, Minnesota just produces one of these freaks, don't they?
They do.
Like, remember Falalele?
He's starting to play, but he took him a while with Baltimore, but he's starting to kind of play pretty well for them. Took him a hot minute there, but he's making it happen. I'm going to go a different route though with this. I think a really smooth pass catching tight end is a very important part of this Kubiak offense. And a guy they met with and a guy that I just really love the tape on. I have a second round grade on him. Might be a little bit early here to take him, but I think that the talent drop off is going to hit pretty hard as we get later on with the tight ends and some of the guys I just don't like as quite as much as I like the guys at the top. I don't think he is really that far away from Loveland as a pass catcher, and that's going to be Mason Taylor. So I'm going to go LSU. So we're going top of my board here. We're going value all the way.
There is some buzz that he may end up creeping into that first round. People are liking what they see with a couple days to go. So.
I love the lineage, man. I those bloodlines. I'm a big bloodline guy. Or it's just there's something about I've played football and it passes on from the DNA, and you're just naturally built somehow.
All right, I'm still not taking Nolan or Jackson, even though in real life, of course, I would because of course I would.
Yeah.
Okay, so Swessinger, kind of interesting. We don't really need a linebacker. I could take Ursary, but I already took an offensive lineman. I'll tell you, the guy that I'm kind of feeling here would be a guy that I constantly find myself taking in these mocks that I do. I'm kind of feeling Jaden Higgins here, the Iowa State receiver. Nice size, good athlete, somebody that's got really good hands, somebody that I think has a pretty high floor. I think he will at least be a good NFL player. This is a guy who could creep into that very back end of the first round, but I do think he will be somewhere in that second round. I'm a big Jaden Higgins fan, and I think he's going to be my pick here. So we're adding an outside receiver.
Love it.
All right. So let's go ahead and take it. And we are off to our third round pick. We're hiding that. And we are turning the steering wheel back to Brandon.
So Carson Schweisinger went after my pick there, which means Arase does still remain on the board. And got receivers, Williams and Jack Besh down here at 74. But I think that I still feel pretty good about where the receiving room is at, where when I come around to the third round, I think I'll still be able to come back there and take care of business on that side of it.
Yeah, there's like 3 big, fun wide receivers in the same part of this draft, and you got to pick which one you like the most. It's like Ayomanor, Higgins, and Beck, right? All 3 of those guys, they're just going to be good.
I think so. Great. I think so. And I think even Savion Williams, it's like he's not in the same category as those guys, but he's a manufacturer guy, so he's going to give you at least touches. So like, okay, if he can't get open, he can't get the route running, he's going to get you contested catches. He can be the bubble screen fly sweep guy for you. So there is some floor to him, and I would probably put Kyle Williams into that same group too. But I do think I can come back later on and get this taken care of. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with the best center in this draft, which is Jared Wilson.
Okay.
That's who I'm going to go with. I think this is where there's a little play to Arase, but I think I'm going to go a different way with my tackle guard later on in the draft. So we'll go with that there.
All right. Okay. So you have gone left guard and center. Now you just need one of your guys already on the team to pan out at right guard, and you've got something.
We're set. There we go, baby.
Okay, I like it. So
show your picks real quick too, where you've been, what your picks have been.
Okay, so my picks so far have been Kenneth Grant, nose tackle.
You just click the tab there.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Perfect.
So Grant, Savainia, Higgins. So let's take a look at what's currently here at 82. Remember, I pick again in like 4 picks, and then I pick again like 5 picks later. So I am going to be owning this portion of the draft. Okay, Ayomanor is still on the board. I don't think that's going to happen in real life, and I'm not going to take another receiver. Cameron Williams is interesting. You could take him as depth for right tackle. I don't think I'm going to do that. Gunnar Helm. I do want a tight end, and Gunnar Helm is probably the last guy remaining that I think has a chance to be like something really standout special. So I'm thinking about that. Let's check the defense over here. This one's tough. I'm not sure I feel extremely compelled on anything right now.
Defense is getting lean.
It is a little bit. Yeah. Okay. So I'm not taking Tyler Shock. I still think he's too injury prone to be a day 2 pick. I cannot get on that wagon.
Yeah, I'm not taking
get on that
QB
wagon
early in this draft. Just not doing it.
Yeah, not that one. I might take Will Howard in round 3 or something. I could get on board with that. I like Will Howard. Oh, this is a tricky one. I'm not loving anything that I see here. Now I've scrolled way too far. Let's go back up here. Okay, so thought process. Kevin Winston is tempting, right?
Upside.
I've taken him at 92 in my mocks before. I've never taken him at 82, but what's the difference at this point?
Yeah, I mean, and he's not going to be there. He might not be there when you get up to 86, depending on how that flows.
You know what? I think we're doing it. I like Kevin Winston Jr. a lot. I think that's the guy.
There we go.
Our guy.
Let's go.
Okay, so okay, hide that. I wish you could just like turn off your phone and be like, no, I'm not doing any trades. Leave me alone.
Stop asking. All right, so we're back on me. My current picks are Donovan Jackson, left guard, Mason Taylor, tight end, Wilson. So I've gone all offense here to start.
Pretty happy. Kubiak is pretty happy with
that.
Kubiak's
okay. He's settling down. He was freaking out at first, but now he's like, okay, I'm getting the plan. I'm starting to understand it. We've got a Barrett Carter here, middle linebacker from Clemson. I'm not an Alex Collins guy. I'm not going quarterback. Obviously, don't need to do tight end. So I'm in a bit of the same kind of tricky place that you find yourself in on this draft. Boy,
what is Tez Johnson doing in the top 100, man?
I don't know. There's people that just love Tez, but I don't get it, dude. He's 154 pounds. It's just not going to work.
He's going to die. He's like, I'm not even joking. He may die out there on the field if you put him out. Could you imagine him going over the middle and Cam Chancellor's there? Could you imagine what would happen?
It would. Yeah, it would be not a good thing. Somebody falls on him, Brendon. Imagine a 240-pound linebacker just falls on him and could break him.
Right.
So looking through here, I kind of like Dorian Strong quite a bit in this draft. There's a little bit of a draw here. Maybe I'm looking at him there. I'm not really a fan of what I'm seeing from the edges because there's a little draw here to come back and look at defense, being that I've gone so heavily offense. But I am going to instead, I think, go with value here, which is I think I like Ayana more in the third round.
Okay.
Yeah, he blocks. I think, we're going to go with I like Ayana more in the third round.
All right. Oh, you got back-to-back picks coming up here next time.
I do. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so back to mine, and let's take a look here. We got a nose tackle. We've got a guard. I think he's going to be left guard in the NFL, by the way. I really do. Not everyone agrees, but I think he's a left guard in the NFL. Wide receiver and safety. So I'll tell you, I am tempted to double dip at wide receiver right now because I took a guy that I think has a pretty good floor and a pretty good ceiling as well. But the most important thing is he's got a nice little floor. So now I'm looking at a guy like Savion Williams, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, low floor, but high ceiling. Like worst case scenario, Savion Williams is Cordarrelle Patterson. He's a trick play guy who can return kicks. Best case scenario, he could be kind of like not that different from DK Metcalf, I think. Maybe not quite as fast, but same benefits and same drawbacks in many ways. Not a great route runner, not great hands, but a physical specimen that opposing defenses are not going to have fun dealing with. So I'm going to double up at receiver here, actually, which is something that I've been doing a lot in my mocks, and I'm going to take Savion Williams.
There we go.
And I pick again at 92. But before we get to that, let's flip back over to Brandon.
All right, so we're 91, 92. We have we've not really dealt with linebacker here, and so we've got an interesting situation with linebacker where Barrett Carter's the number one guy on the board at 91. I have Demetrius Knight still here in the third round, which is interesting. I really can't go offense. I've gone Jackson, Taylor, Wilson, Aiyana Moore, so I've kind of messed up here by going so heavy offense to start this out.
I don't want to call that messing up. That's I'd say that's probably what we need.
So I feel bad. I feel a little bad doing it that. I do feel a little bit of a drawback to corner here. Kobe Bryant is a guy who makes some sense to me on this, maybe. This is a little early there maybe for him on that. I'll tell you, with Demetrius Knight, he would sure give you a insurance policy there at the linebacker position where if you lose a guy, you don't miss a step. Kind of tough here. I've got a lot of guys that are more fourth round graded guys here that I'm picking from in the late third, which I don't like. So you really don't like getting stuck in this spot of things. Almost makes me want to do a Savion Williams too as well, because at least the value's there where I've got the better grade on him, but I can't go back to. I can't.
You could.
I could, but I feel freaking I gotta do something here. All right, so what we'll do is I think we'll go with the nose tackle here, Brendon.
Oh, really?
That's the value. I think CJ West might be my guy.
Okay. I do like CJ West. He is interesting.
Oh, no. We got Jordan Phillips. I'm going Jordan
okay.
Phillips. Jordan Phillips still on the board, so we're grabbing him.
Mm-hmm. Meat and potatoes.
Meat and potatoes. I like Phillips better as a CJ's a little more penetrating. He's a little more one-gapping nose tackle. Phillips is a little more traditional to me. Two-gapping, sit-down, hunker down kind of nose tackle.
All right. Well, I'll tell you, you talked about this guy when you went just now, and I'm thinking about going the same way. I'm thinking about Kobe Bryant as well. I haven't taken a cornerback yet. I think we could use a cornerback. I think he fits McDonald's scheme very well. I'm looking at other stuff too, but like I don't really want to spend a third round pick on Cameron Williams when I know he's only going to be a right tackle in the NFL, right? I would be okay with a Gunnar Helm, but I don't know. I'm not quite there yet. I think I can do a little bit better, right? So there are no centers worth taking at this point. Already took my receivers. The edge group, I think, has gotten really, really thin really, really quickly. I already took my nose tackle. Not a fan of these linebackers. So I think Kobe Bryant is the pick. And I'm doing it.
Like it.
Okay. So now we wait a long time to get to 137. But before we pick at 137, you've got your pick at 92.
All right, so Jackson, Taylor, Wilson, Aiyana Moore, and Phillips are the current selections here for me. We've got Carter on the board. Demetrius Knight's still there too. It's weird because Carter's the fast, freakish kind of one. Knight's the better player, he's a little bit older. So a little bit of a tough draw between those two. Corner becomes a bit of a push here too. Oh, boy. Yeah, Kobe Bryant's kind of the best guy on the board for cornerbacks.
Yeah, I couldn't get into the Zay Alexander guy. Did you like him very much? I wasn't feeling that one.
He looks like Thorold Simon to me. Former Seahawk. Okay, so let's go back here. So I might go a little bit weird here, Brendon.
I know you liked Josiah Stewart more than
you kind of caught me on that word. I think I'm gonna go with Josiah Stewart. I have a third round grade on him, and see, I can come back and I think I can get my backup linebacker later. I don't have to go for one of these guys here to do that. And this is a guy who could eventually become a starter for me if he can operate at his size. He's so small, but I mean, dude, he's just to the tape. Anything you knock with Stewart, you have to knock with him on the size. You can't knock with him on when you turn on the tape and what he does on tape. It's all about, well, he's only 6'1". It's only 6'1". How's he going to do it? It's like, well, the tape, he does it. So He's not Willie Lampkin out there for edges. There's 6'1" edges in this draft, like Jalen Walker, and we taking the top 10. I'm going to go Josiah Stewart.
Okay. All right. I mean, I certainly cannot. I cannot deny that I think most people would really like that pick. I don't know. There was just something about him to me that put me off of him. I can't even really remember what it was.
The thing I keep coming back to is just that, that the number one with the tape, obviously what I keep coming back to, but just some of the statistics that come out of him that are outside of just like, tackle, sack numbers. But he had the best pressure rate of any of these edges in this draft. Nobody's at like almost 40%. Like a guy like John Campbell was at like 13% for a pressure rate when he's coming off the edge. Even a guy like Mykel Williams is like 12% this past year. Now he's injured and all that, but it just shows you how freakish Stewart was and what he brought on that side of it.
All right. So now I am picking here in round number 4. So looking at the best available, I still have Jordan Phillips on my board, which I would do. I already took Grant, though, so I don't know if I really want to do that. We did meet with Chase Lunt. Yeah, see, this is the one thing I don't love about taking Kenneth Grant in the first. You might be able to get a Jordan Phillips or Jamari Caldwell in the 4th, and that might be better value. Like, that would be the one thing that makes me go like, well, can I do better? And maybe the answer is yes. So, that being the case, let's see here. So, Savion Jones, let me check my notes on him. I remember kind of liking what I saw from him.
He's nice.
LSU edge player. Let's see here. Has the size of yeah, he could be like the big edge. He could be like McDonald's big edge after DeMarcus Lawrence, and he's only 22, so he needs to develop anyway. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking right now. Savion Jones. I think that's the pick at 137, man. I put a 4th round grade on him. You got time to develop him, so let's go ahead and hit it. And we are swinging back over to Brandon.
All right. So I am still here at a place now where I've got to definitely start looking at probably going for corner here and doing a little more reaching for need. We need to get this filled out. I need to get a couple of them in this draft, in my opinion. I'm going to go with Noel Williams of California. That's my highest rated corner I've got on my board right now. I think I can come back and still get my backup linebacker in this draft. I mean, you take a Nick Martin in the 7th round and he's your special teams guy, whatever. Can he be like a D Winters for the Niners was a couple years ago? Similar kind of player where it's like super undersized, really fast, just runs around. Winters was a little bit better tape, but I'm going to go with Noel Williams. I think he's a complete corner. I think he can work in this defense. Gives you a good body out there.
Okay. I dig it. All right. Back over to mine now. Now, we are now at the point where I kind of feel like I have to take Jordan Phillips because of the value. I don't know how realistic it is to have him in the 5th round, though. So I have mixed feelings there. I don't know. You rule on that one. Can I take Jordan Phillips, or is that just absurd?
I don't think he'll be there, but I mean, I don't know if I'd go full absurd. I don't think he gets taken in the 3rd round. So, if it's 1 round difference and it's this late in the draft, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Okay.
Hard to pin him down as a player where he's exactly going to go.
I mean, he is a nose tackle, and teams do tend to deprioritize nose tackles pretty heavily. So
100%.
I don't think I have to think about anything too much at this point. I think I'm just going to bang in Jordan Phillips, and I'm good at nose tackle for the next 4 years.
There we go.
Okay. Okay, so I'm picking again at 175, and I believe you will be as well. Yes.
Yeah, so we got 4 picks left for your boy here. So we are Wilson. So our picks are currently Jackson, Taylor, Wilson, Aiyana Moore, Phillips, Stewart, Noel Williams. And now we need to kind of feel like I'm a little bit more in a position, Brendon, to just kind of pick for value at this point, if I want.
Yep, absolutely.
not a lot of names necessarily jumping through the roof out at me. Could use potentially a linebacker here. Jay Higgins, Jeffrey Bossa there. We're actually okay, though, on that.
Weren't you a big fan of Brashard Smith, the running back?
I was. Yeah, I actually love him a lot. Yeah, that's a great suggestion there, actually, because I do have a 3rd-round grade on him.
Yeah, because you liked him a little more than I did, but I do remember he stood out to you.
He did. Yeah, I did. I think with 169 on this, I feel like maybe I can still get him back in a couple picks if I need to on that. So let's go ahead and okay, so we've got Jackson, Wilson, and then we could definitely potentially still bring in. Sorry, bro, I'm struggling on this one a little bit.
No.
Okay.
I'm pretty happy with mine, and you seem relatively happy with yours. So this might just be the one that we roll with.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. So I think what we'll do is we'll go. Okay. Let's go with.
Wow, Ty Robinson's still there. PFN does not like him.
No, they don't. I'm a little bit pulled towards Ty Robinson too here, just a tiny bit.
Is he a fit for this defense though?
Well, that's the thing is he's not a nose tackle. I was going on. So I did this the other day, Brendon. I was talking to. I lost my notes on it, but I was talking to Dan Viennes on this because he was one of the people kind of pushing about this guy doing the nose tackle stuff. And I just grabbed the first video I could of him on tape with Nebraska against Illinois. First snaps, because everybody's saying he's a nose tackle. You've heard this a lot too, right? That he's a nose tackle. He's a nose tackle. Mm-hmm. And so I went through and here's the first 12 snaps of the game. 5 tech, 3 tech, 3 tech, 5 tech, 7 tech, 7 tech, 7 tech, 3 tech, 3 tech, 6 tech, 4 eye, 4 eye. And then I just stopped. So I'm like, okay, so he's not a nose tackle, right? So are we done? We be done with the nose. So it just doesn't work there. I'm gonna go with goodness gracious here. Okay. So we're gonna go. I think I go with the best linebacker I've got on my board here. My highest guy, because I think I like my guy linebacker wise. Well, you know what? No, we're going this. We're going back corner. Double in on the corner.
Mello.
Back corner. Okay. Mello Dotson.
All right. So we both took a Kansas corner.
There we go.
Mm-hmm.
They're good. They're good corners.
If you got both, that could only be good things, right? That'd be like drafting the Georgia interior offensive line.
I like it a lot. And watching some of these corner classes we've had in recent years where there's 2 of them, what I really do like about it is that when you have a really great corner on a college team, there's usually a kind of not as good a guy on the other side. And so teams then just don't throw at that guy. And so you have a lot of tape where you're just not seeing him tested. You don't know if he's really doing a great job or if the quarterback's just determined, I'm not going in that direction. And if that's the case, then it's like, well, are you really learning about the guy watching the tape? And is he being dominant there or is he just scaring them away? It's a skill to force a quarterback not to throw your way. But when you have 2, certain ones on either side, the quarterback's got to kind of test both sides because there's risk in both areas.
Right. Okay. So this is going to be my last pick before the bottom really drops out of this draft class. And I think I'm circling around Mitchell Evans, the tight end from Notre Dame. Haven't taken a tight end yet. I think Mitchell Evans could be like a Will Dissly in the NFL. He's got the size to play in line. He can be a pretty good blocker. I don't think that he's going to be a stellar player in this league. I don't think he has the athleticism for it. But I do think that Mitchell Evans is going to be a capable NFL player, so I'm going to take him here.
I love it, man. He's a underrated tight end in this draft. I mean, a very complete tight end for the position, too.
All right, so we're going to pass it back to you, and this is your last pick before the 7th round.
So we've really developed. We've gone to the offensive line a couple times, got our tight end, got our receiver. got an edge, got a defensive tackle, couple cornerbacks in this draft as well. I kind of feel like, Brendon, I'm in a place where I can kind of go any direction I really want to go on this. And when you come back to Brashard Smith, who you just mentioned on this one, this is where I go on this. Well, look, I'm going to come back and probably grab my linebacker, and I got a couple positions I'm going to take a look at for 223 and 234. When I look at LB here, I mean, there's a lot of guys here these would be functional guys as far as special teamers to me that I can come back around. So I go, who's the high guy we got on the board here that we just really love a lot? You mentioned him, Brashard Smith. You have a guy here that gives you a skill set that you don't have on this roster at that point. This is a former wide receiver convert who really gives you that wide receiver hands coming out of the backfield, super explosive. He's only played running back 1 year since he's done the wide receiver convert. I think that this kid's going to be really dynamic in this league. At the very least, is just kind of a weapon guy. So this really fills out the backfield for us. I like him a lot. I'm going with Brashard Smith of SMU.
Okay, that's a good one, I think. That's a good one, especially down here in the 5th. So, back to my end of things, and I'm pulled in 2 different directions here. On the one hand, Jalen Conyers is still here. He's the tight end, but really he's a fullback, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we know that Kubiak wants a fullback. We know that he would get a lot of mileage out of a Jalen Conyers. The other way I'm pulled is Carson Vincent. And this is a guy that I got turned on to pretty late in the process. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at him, but he's the Alabama A&M tackle. He's pretty nice, got some mobility skills. And I am thinking about backup tackle. Like right now, the Seahawks backup tackles are Josh Jones, who is pretty bad, and Mike Jarrell, who is probably still a year away from being able to play effectively. Mm-hmm. So I am being pulled in 2 different directions on this one. I think it's just those 2. I don't see anything else that I'm all that into, but it's either going to be Conyers or Vincent. And I think I'm going to go... See, I pick again in about 13 picks. Vincent's more valuable, but I think Conyers is actually a little bit of a tougher commodity to find. So I think I'm going to go Conyers as a fullback. And that will be my first 7th round pick. And yeah, Vincent did go to the Niners right after I picked, which doesn't terribly surprise me. Okay.
Vincent did go. You said the Niners?
Yeah, Vincent went to the Niners.
Damn it, you let the Niners have him. What are you doing, dude? What are you doing, Brendon?
Yeah.
All right. I was kind of looking at mine. I'm in a little bit of a kerfuffle here too. So we are a little bit more in reach for need here at the end. The 2 positions that stand out are linebacker and safety that I kind of need. But I'm going to make sure my defensive tackle, nose tackle position is taken care of first and foremost, I think. Actually, we can come back for that. So they've got Max and Hood up at the top of the board here. I'm going to go ahead and take Max and Hood. We need some safety depth. This is much just getting depth picks here. I think you've got to. I went so heavy value early in the draft. I think you have to come back, and John does this too, with a little bit more need to the end to fill some spots that have to be filled. And I like these players. Max and Hood's played 3-4 years. Good starter, good tackler from the position coming downhill. Be more of a strong safety kind of type guy. I don't think he's got a high ceiling to him, but a guy that gives you a little floor in special teams play, I think he gives you that.
All right. Very nice. Okay, so now it's time for my last pick. And I kind of want to go Nick Martin because he's a guy who is so fast that even if linebacker doesn't work out, he can move to safety. And either way, he's going to be a weapon on special teams, which is probably all you could reasonably expect from him anyway, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm looking at like the offense. I don't really see much here. Maybe Caleb Rogers, but he's super raw. And I mean, at this point, Cable Dew we looked at, but I don't think Cable Dew's worthy of a draft pick, really. I don't see much there. I don't see anything really with the guards that I'm into. Center thinned out really quickly. I don't see anything over there. So I think I'm going to go Nick Martin and just say, look, he's a pure special teamer. And if he gives you anything else, it's great. Mm-hmm. I thought about Stackhouse as well, but I already took 2 nose tackles. I don't need another one. So yeah, I think Nick Martin's the pick.
There we go.
And my draft gets taken home. Okay. So now it is your turn to take your draft home.
All right. Well, we've got Willie Lampkin here. I've taken just 2 offensive linemen, so technically I could take a look at Lampkin. I'm not going to do that because I just don't trust the guy at that size is going to make it work. I do think that we're going to come back to nose tackle on this one. We need to come away with 2 of them in this draft, and I would really feel good about going with Jordan Phillips and Nazir Stackhouse as my 1-2. That frees Byron Murphy up fully to be able to go roll around. When I look at the linebackers here, I don't have Nick Martin on my board anymore. I think what you're going to be able to do eventually on this is sign a couple of these guys like a Greg Penn or Power Ickles to undrafted rookie free agent contracts because there's enough of those guys that'll not get drafted, I think. And if you haven't drafted a guy, you'll look like a very tantalizing place to come to if you're that team that has that, I think. So I come back around to this and I say, for me, I'm going to Nazir Stackhouse. I trust in his ability to be a run stuffer. He's not going to give you much as far as pass rush to me. He'll give you a smidge, but he's there to stop the run. That will be his job. So that's our drafts. Let's real quick. We got a donation in the chat.
Yes, we do. Okay, we actually have 2 of them. So one is from God's Gang, which was actually sent 6 minutes before the stream started.
Thank you, God's Gang.
$2. If we take Zabel or Banks Jr. at 18, I'll lose it. Now, losing it could mean a couple different things, right? Losing it, it could be a good losing it. It could be a bad losing it.
Well, his emojis, that emoji's not a happy emoji there that he's put in there. So,
yeah, I kind of agree with Zabel. I don't really want Zabel at 18. That's not something I'm into.
Yeah.
Banks Jr., though, I got to be honest, that I think would be pretty good in my book. I'd be good with that.
Yeah, I would be the same. I'm kind of the same place God's Gang of Brendon on this, where Zabel, trade back, you're okay with it there. That's fine. But picking him at 18 feels a little bit early. There is a little bit of a draw here as we get closer to the draft where this is a real possibility. I mean, I'm seeing mock drafts with Zabel going up and ahead of us, 12, 13, 14, in these areas. So there's more of the push of him being in the stage, but I would like to be more 20s. Banks, I'm not going to be over the moon excited with it, but I would understand it as a pick. It's not going to blow you away as some of the other selections you could get there that would, to me. A Michael Williams, a Kenneth Grant. I think there's a variety of different guys in that spot at 18 that would make you go over the moon, right, Brendon? But Banks would just make you kind of go, it's fine. Yeah,
in the creator mock draft, when my pick came up, I had Michael Williams there. I had Ken Grant there. I had Banks there. And I had Malachi Starks there, which that would be pretty amazing if we had that many things to choose from.
It would. You'd be open at the very least there, John, goes back 3 or 4 spots to still just get one of those guys because you're like, I can take all 4 of those guys. I could take any of them. And then let me just move back the pick, still get my guy and get the extra picks back. I mean, that's where we come back to again, just trading back in the first round just makes so much bloody sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And by the way, I think most people in the chat know this, but I did end up taking Michael because I think he's the best of those 4 players.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I would have done the same thing if I was in your staff. That's a great pick on your part.
Yeah. If they do end up taking him on Thursday, then I am the Lisan Al-Gaib.
You're going to look smart on it regardless because he's going to end up going. It's another one of those guys. This is the same thing as, to me, Brendon, what we have with Ted Tora McMillan. And there's all these people that are like taking these particular prospects and sort of tearing them up through the process a bit, in my eyes. I mean, where through most of this process, those 2 guys, you're a lot of people of, I don't get it. Doesn't have the production in Michael Williams' place. Well, he takes plays off in Ted Tora McMillan's place. Both of these 2 guys are going to end up going in the top 12. And it's like when it's all said and done, all that talk about them being this or them being that, their talent ends up being what it is. And it's too true and too real not to have them end up being selected too high by these NFL teams. Even teams that get things wrong are not going to be so blinded to not see it with these 2 guys. That's how clear it is, really, is what I'm trying to say with this, Brendon. These aren't hard evaluations, either of these 2 evaluations. Yeah, you don't have the production, or yeah, you don't have this. But at the end of the day, when you turn on the tape, it stands out what kind of player they are and what they're showing you and what they can be. And that's the part where NFL teams don't let that slip through the cracks.
Right. Michael's 20 years old right now, by the way. Don't trip on his production. Georgia does this. Georgia has super talented players that don't put up numbers because it's Georgia. That's what they do.
Yeah. And he was injured all last year. All last year he was injured almost start to finish. So it's like, that's the other part of it to take into account. It's like, do some of that advanced math and you come out the other side and you're like, oh man, there's going to be a hell of a player on the other side of this. If you can just get past some of the surface level stuff here.
Dogzilla, thank you for the $2 super chat. Please mock the Niners making very stupid choices.
Well, if they take Walter Nolan, I'll be over here just applauding away if that's going to be the pick for them. I'll be hell yeah, hell to the yes.
Yeah, in the creator mock draft, that's who they took.
Yeah, and I did a mock on the roundtable last week with Jesse over the last second, and he also took Walter Nolan, and he was like not understanding why I was so cold on him. I'm just like, you guys just did this with Kinlaw. You just did this with Kinlaw. You took a player from the South, SEC, super talented 3-tech with a hot and cold engine, not a lot of advanced pass rush pedigree to him, who just wants to get upfield and go fast. He's Ricky Bobby, just want to go fast. And like, that's kind of all he's got with it. You want to take that 11? More power to you. Enjoy.
Yeah, I will say the Niners guy really wanted to trade back. He had a trade back with me set up, ready to go, but then Membo went at 10, and I was like, I don't want to trade up now.
Yeah. Smart of you on that one.
But Derek Harmon was still on the board when he made that pick, by the way. And to me, Harmon's a much better player than Walter Nolan.
If you're going for a 3-tech, right? I agree with you. Like, if I'm going for a 3-tech, give me the guy that's got the insane production and then who tested out almost on equivalency to Chris Jones. I mean, his size, length, how he tested, his measurables, all Chris Jones, and the guy's got insane production coming out of college.
Right.
And that's with him playing sometimes snaps where they've got to do the run responsibility stuff, that Oregon defense at times. Birch and him had to do that at times where it's like, you got to play a little bit more. You can't just be kind of like Nolan, where Nolan just got to attack 24/7. This guy didn't get to just attack 24/7.
Right. Thank you, Dogzilla. Kevin Mullen, thank you for the $4.99. I agree. 2 nose tackles, 3 offensive linemen is a must for this draft. I just wish we draft a defensive joker from Mike McDonald's game plan. Question: who's your draft crush for the Hawks to draft?
I mean, it's for me, it's mainly 3 guys that I've come back to time and time again. Be it, we just talked about Mykel Williams. If he dropped to us, to me, that's a blue chip talent you've landed. That would be amazing. Kenneth Grant's a guy both me and Brendon have been on big time. I mean, you need a nose tackle, and this is one of the best nose tackles we've seen in recent years. And then the guy that just would be outside the first round that's like, a little harder to maybe see would be Jack Besh. Jack Besh to me is such a fun receiver. I'd love to add him to our team. He's been a little bit of one of my crushes too.
Yeah. I would go Jaden Higgins. He's become my guy, I think, over the last few months here. I really like Jaden Higgins. I also let me think here. What else was there? Maybe Savai Naia is one of my guys as well, honestly. Like, I seem to like him more than most other people. Maybe because I look at him as a left guard and other people aren't.
I think he's got a potential to play there. My only worries with him are just finish. Does he have that, extra stuff to him a little bit? It's like with Kelvin Banks. Kelvin Banks sometimes will just go out there and do the job, and then he's kind of waiting. Is the whistle done? Am I done? Have I done enough? Rather than those guys like they're really like trying to pancake guys and finish guys off, kind of like Chase Lund.
Upo, thank you for the $5. How many years are we going to give Schneider to nail a draft? Not average or mediocre, but nail one. Right. Well, this is kind of the tough one, right? Because there was an extended period of time where Pete Carroll had personnel control, and everybody has a different story on how much he exerted that control while he was there. So it's hard to know where that start ends and the Schneider stuff begins sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I would say too that we go back to the draft from 3 years ago. He nailed that draft. Charles Cross is the best left tackle out of that draft. Abraham Lucas is the best right tackle out of that draft. Kenneth Grant's been a very dynamic running back. Boye Mafe has really come along. You have Kobe Bryant, who's really turned into a really dynamic safety for you. Reek Woolen has been starting here every single year that he's been here. That's not an average draft. That's definitely one Upo that's a really, really fine draft from a couple of years ago. Last year wasn't maybe as strong, but even the year before, I would say, with your Derek Hall, but the first round, you go Witherspoon, you go Jackson Smith and Jigba. Hall, Charbonnet has been a productive player for you on that side. So, I mean, even that one, I would say it wouldn't necessarily go to average, maybe not as glowing as the prior year, but certainly well above average even on that draft and what you pulled out there. So I think he's done pretty good the past couple of years. Last year, you can pick at that one a bit, being that
It's too early.
it
Let's
is.
be fair
Yeah,
here.
it is a little too early on it to know for sure. And you were also down your second round pick, which was Leonard Williams, which has been a hit. So I mean, he's done good in recent years. I can certainly understand breaking him across the lines for some of the Carroll years where those drafts were just so freaking bad. And I'm not going to try to excuse any of that away or just pass it away to Carroll. I think John's, held an account on that. The thing with it to me is, I guess, Upo, he's done such a good job of taking steps forward the past couple of years to correct those bad drafts that I more now am in a position to laud him on that, where I go, look, you fixed where you were going wrong. You went wrong. That sucks. Wish you didn't have to go wrong in the first place, but at least you've corrected it and not stayed in that same lane of failure that's caused you to, replicate those failing results year in and year out when you were going in that bad direction.
Yeah. I mean, something changed in 2022. I don't know if what changed was Schneider got control or Schneider realized he needs to stop doing stupid stuff and start doing smart stuff. But something changed. Like, I find it very hard to believe that the Seahawks from the 2010s would have drafted Charles Cross, a pass blocking left tackle. That was not their modus operandi.
Agreed. Yeah, they took a very, very stark turn there 3 years ago, and whatever was the onus to drive it, you went that direction of it, and that's the most important part. And it's completely understandable. 15, 16, 17, 18. Look at those drafts and go, ugh. But these drafts recently they've been really good. They've been good to solid, oscillating between those two places.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, Upo with a follow-up. Thank you for the $5. I'm considering Schneider has had one draft with full control, which, I mean, that may also be true as well. Maybe Carroll did have some degree of power still, even in his final two drafts. Again, it's really hard to know these things. And I'm going to say it again. Everybody thinks they know how much Carroll exerted his personnel control, but everybody has a different answer. So I don't think anybody actually knows. It's hard for me to actually figure out what the right answer is.
Me as well in this one, Upo. It is hard to know exactly where that line cut, because Carroll and Schneider's dynamic is a very unusual one in the NFL to have it that way. So there is a bit of a guess. Some of this is going off of what Schneider has said in the last couple of years about why he's had success, because he's been asked a lot about it in interviews about what are you guys doing differently? What is it that you've gone with? And he's pointed specifically to value, and you can feel that in their drafts. You can feel that in their selections, where when me and Brendon were covering these drafts in recent years, you're grabbing guys like Dwayne Eskridge, who you're like, I've got a fifth round grade on Dwayne Eskridge. Why are we taking him in the second round? I've got a fourth round grade on LJ Collier. Why are you taking him in the first round? These picks that were just completely out of the ballpark of reasonability and realistic. And so you come back and go, okay, these have been a lot different. But I also think a little bit to your heart of your question, Yupo, because there's a lot of the fan base that is really kind of pushing for, when does John eventually get on the hot seat here if he doesn't do this? When does John, and I get the pull to this a little bit. I do. I'm not pushing back against that. The only part I push back against is just what Jody Allen is or isn't willing to do. And when you look at Jody Allen, go look at what's going on with the Portland Trailblazers and how she has managed that situation there with the general manager and what's going on there. Not looking to make change, not looking to flip things out, especially when it comes to front office, when it comes to general managers and whatnot. So he's really not under any kind of hot seat, as much as fans may want this, and it's or that they're wondering if he's coming close to that. I don't think that that's going to be the case. I think John is really well set it in here that even a bad year next year isn't going to necessarily put him onto that hot seat or in the scopes to be fired.
Yeah, and I'll say this: if things go a particular way this upcoming season, I will probably jump on that wagon. I'm not on the wagon yet. I don't want him fired right now. Not that you would fire a GM 3 days before the draft anyway, but as a general concept, I'm not there yet. I can get there pretty quickly, but I don't think we've seen enough. There is stuff with Schneider that's bad. Like last year's free agency class was an F minus. Like that's an all-time disaster. Don't get me wrong. He's a disaster in free agency. I don't think he's very good at these trades outside of the one big trade he really hit on. But I don't think you can knock him for his drafts. I think that, for whatever you want to say about him in other areas, he can draft.
Yeah, I think it's there's reason to criticize the guy's been in 14 years and you've got a couple playoff wins and you haven't had a lot of success recently. You've been kind of a middling team. I just come back to again the thing of if you're going to move on from John Schneider and you're in that quick place to go do that, that's what you were on that line. You were starting to lean in that direction. Well, if you're going to do that, then you did that when you moved on from Carroll. And if you chose to re-up with Carroll, then you had to chose to sort of, you're not re-up, you're re-upping with John and you're going to roll with him then. And you're going to give him a couple of years to do that, kind of come hell or high water on that situation. And I know that isn't what people want to hear with it, but that's where we come down to like, well, you can, if I'm going to lament something or I'm going to ask for something, I'm going to be pushing for something. I want it to be in a realistic place of things, right? Otherwise, I'm just sort of shouting at clouds like an old man on his front lawn. Right. And that's to me where it just doesn't serve a purpose on that if there's no realistic aspect to it. And on this one, when you do the math on it, it's just not there. It doesn't track at all that he's in a place of being on tentative ground or on thin ice. Instead, probably a little bit of the opposite, quite frankly. And the team's coming off 10 wins. The free agency was bad. The offensive line was a complete disaster. You just made a home run hire when it came to your head coach, and you're coming off 10 wins with that first year head coach. That's not going to push Jody in a direction of being like, get John out of here, even a bad year. So it just comes down to, I get people's frustration with it, but also like there's a lot of push right now in the fan base, a little bit from some fans on this, Brendon, of John's time's here. I'm done with him. Get him out. Just fire this guy. We should have had him fired a long time. And you can get mad about it. I'm not saying don't get mad. I'm just saying it's not going to bring a whole hell of a lot because the voices can go out there and get as loud as they want on this one. It's not like the Carroll situation. It's not happening, in my opinion.
Yeah. I will say that I thought there was no chance Carroll was going to get fired, and then he got fired. So sometimes people can surprise you. It's not, I don't think it's completely absurd. I never, ever would have thought they would have fired Carroll last year, ever.
See, I think that there was a lot more to the Carroll thing that made a lot more sense to it happening versus Schneider. Carroll, a guy that was already flirting with retirement that we had heard about. I want to be here, maybe not. You had Schneider already out there scouting coaches, and then Carroll comes back and he's like, no, I really want to still now coach. I know I said I wanted to retire at the thing, but now I really want to go into a coach. There was a lot of stuff that you saw in Coach Carroll's game that were failures across the board, where with Schneider, it's more about you finding holes in his game more than it is across the board. Carroll's ability to motivate players, Carroll's ability to scheme and have his system at the forefront of things. It was like you kind of go all across the board, and there was very little on the positive side with Carroll at the end that he was really bringing to play that was helping things out at the end of the day. So with Schneider, you go, well, offensive line. Well, you go, well, he sometimes spends his money weird in free agency. And then what? I think he's actually been more often than not on the right side of the trades. The big ones like a Graham, which Graham had some success here, but a Harvin or whatever, or an Adams, yeah, those are bad. But there's a lot of good ones in there too, like a Dunlap, like a Quandre Diggs, like a Leonard Williams. We can find some good success. Jadeveon Clowney. We can find some good success stories in there as well with it too. So it's kind of just where I stand with it.
And by the way, I did post a poll on my stream asking which mock draft was better a couple minutes ago. Only 10 votes over there right now, though. So if you haven't already and you're on my side, vote for whichever mock draft you think was better. The one currently on screen is mine. So this one right here is my mock draft. And the Hawks Nest mock draft is this one. So if you're on my side, you can vote in that poll. And if you're on the Hawks Nest side,
I'll put a poll up here real quick here.
All right. Yeah, I can't do it on his side, so
we'll get it here. One sec.
By the way, it's currently 64 to 36 on my side, so that's good, but it is my stream, so.
All right. I'm starting my poll up on my side as well here. So please do vote on that. Who had the better one on that?
All right. Okay. So we got some more donations to get through. So we'll get through these
here shortly
while we wait for votes to come
50-50 here, Brendon. What's on my side but yours?
On my side, it's currently 2-1 me. So it's like 70 to 30.
What was it again? Say it again. Sorry, I had my deal.
71 to 29, but only 18 votes. I'm leading.
You're leading. All right.
Okay. So but it's my stream. I'm wondering if maybe the people on my stream are more likely to vote for me because it's my stream. And
well, what we'll do is we'll take the collective numbers because you can get the numbers of votes at the end. So we'll just take the total numbers on each at the end and we'll add them together on it.
Yeah. But what about the people who go to both streams and vote? I guess their passion counts for an extra vote.
Yes, I guess so.
Yeah. Seth, thank you for the $4.99. Kenneth Grant nose tackle, Byron at 3 tech, and let Leo move along the line like the Chiefs use Chris Jones. Sign me up. That line would dominate. I really think a defensive line like that would just make everything else look so much better. I think it would be just this big equalizer that it wouldn't matter that we don't have the greatest safeties in the world. It wouldn't matter that our linebackers are just decent, because look how destructive these guys are. What are you going to do about this many elite talents up front?
Yeah, it's I love it just from the fact of you got a defensive minded head coach too, and you're leaning into that defense. And I think that if you're going defense, you got to do this a bit. If you're going offense, you do a different approach as well. And so really reinforcing your defense at this point that is very strong as it is, and turning your strength into a super strength in so many ways by grabbing a guy like Grant. Not to mention it is the force multiplier where it moves Byron into the right spot where he can go and being best as the 3 tech and not doing the nose tackle stuff. Chris Jones, they used him all around the line last year, including out as an edge, and he was able to be really effective, especially that Cardinals game. When they put him out as edge, he was a real problem out there. So it just gives you the depth. It gives you the strength. It turns your strength even stronger on the team as far as defense goes, puts less pressure on the offense, maybe because the defense can do more to be more dominant at that point. So I've continually come back to being that's the daydream that's continued to capture my imagination, Seth, is the thought process of getting that nose in Grant, to be able to double dip and get a guy like a Jordan Phillips after that and put that guy in, or a Nazir and a Kenneth Grant. And now you're just really reinforced there. You got the depth. You can just keep those 2 guys rolling out all game long and let everybody else fit into their natural position.
Right. I think it could be some beautiful stuff. I think that would be really exciting.
I do as well.
Yeah, and I really like the idea of Byron being able to play at his natural position. I think we're doing him a real disservice if we actually are trying to play him at nose.
We really are. And he's not a dominant nose tackle. He's never going to be a dominant nose tackle. He'll be a passable nose tackle, but he can be a dominant 3-tech.
Mm-hmm. God's Gang, thank you for the $5. All the O-line picks at 18 are reaches, either move back or pivot position. I'm not into reaching for need. The value just isn't there. Take BPA or move. That may very well end up being the case. I don't think Banks would be a reach at 18. I think Banks would be totally fine at 18. I think that Membo would be a steal at 18. I think that's probably unrealistic because it would be such good value. And I'd say Campbell as well. I don't think there's any way he's there, but if he was there, I'd be totally down with that.
Yeah, I'm not as much in on the Campbell one. For me, I'm definitely just don't like that one as far as where I'm at with it. But God's Game, both me and Brendon in our scenarios here move back. Both me and Brendon for a while now have been thinking that the best position, the best way to go in this draft is to move back, that's the right proper approach to making this the best success, to pick up that extra pick. And as much because at 18, you're not looking at some guy that's a blue chip talent that's dropped you like last year with Byron Murphy being the best defensive player in the draft, according to John Schneider. That's not the same situation you're landing this year, where there's a lot of guys in that collective spot where you're like, well, I like him kind of, and I like him a bit, and I like him. But I like this guy just as much as at 25, 26. And so moving back is the real way to go here. And then you can go get that lineman and feel okay about it because you picked up that extra pick on day 2 by doing that. I mean, that's where then you're not reaching as much for need. Then you got the extra pick and you've taken care of the offensive line, kind of like I did in my scenario there with Donovan Jackson.
Right. All right. Yeah. I would say if we do take Tyler Booker or Gray Zabel at 18, I'm not going to feel great about that. I'm going to be like,
yeah, I'll honestly with Booker, at least I'll know I've got the floor with him. So I'm okay there where I know this day 1, this guy's coming in. This ain't Christian Haynes. This is a plug and play starter guy. That's where I'm at with that. But I would get it. I would get it if there would be some for like where God's Gang's at on this. I would totally understand if there's some fans on this because of the fact it's not as much a high ceiling offensive lineman you're grabbing there at that point. And when we come to first round guys, you and I have been harping on it now for a couple months. We want the upside. We want the we want the ceiling more than we want to get caught up on the floor.
Mm-hmm. Kevin Mullen, thank you for the $4.99. Just wanted to say thank you to both for this off-season content. Some of the best stuff from both B&B. Hot take, JS looking at wide receiver Tyrannosaurus in the fourth.
One of these days there'll be a name like that in one of these drafts. We keep going. They keep getting wilder and wilder, these names, Brendon. These parents are going crazy with the names.
Well, there was the pitcher a few years ago whose last name was Balfour.
It was meant to be, man. It was meant to be coming out of the womb on that one. But
Yeah.
Kevin, I thank you for that, man. I think our goal is every year is to hopefully we get a little bit better at this, a little bit better in our scouting and our evaluation, hope better to get you guys a little bit more closer to understanding the information in the draft and these players and all of that. So really do appreciate the kind words on your part. And I love doing this with Brendon every year. It's a cool part of football where you sort of shift into these different gears. You get your free agent gears, you got your draft gears, you got your preseason gears, you got in-season gears, and it's all of them are kind of unique.
Martin Lawrence, thank you for the €5. I think that's euro. Not 100% backing JS, but I think we need 2 free agency periods, I think he means, and drafts with MM and JS working in tandem to see if it will work as a partnership.
So if I can start on this one, that's you're striking to the heart of a little bit of what I was talking about with that, Martin, which is that I get the part of people being out on John, but you had to make this decision basically a year ago with Carroll. That's when you had to make this determination about what you were going to do. And you could have easily pivoted off both and cleaned house and gone through, but you didn't do that. And so then in making that decision, you are signing then up for John for a couple of years then at that point. No matter sort of what you run into, unless it completely just falls on its face. If they came out last year and it was 2-win season and John's free agent class was BS and the line collapsed, and well, maybe that'd be a little bit different, but you got to 10 wins. That's not a failure. That's a success. First-year coach, a first-time coach, getting to 10 wins for a guy that, really was changing over his scheme and system wholly into something completely different from what it was under Coach Carroll. And that means this is going to take some time, and you got to let the development come along with it. Even if you don't like individual moves within that, you got to let the overarching development cycle of this play out to see what it can be, in my opinion. Do you feel the same way, Brendon?
Yeah. I don't think you can make that decision right now. I don't think you could possibly say we're gonna. I mean, a big reason why you did what you did last offseason was we're gonna get rid of Pete Carroll. We're gonna give John Schneider free reign to actually control the team and see what he can do with full power. I don't think you can give him 1 year of full power. That wasn't that bad, by the way. Let's be real here. I know some people like to act like going 10-7 is the same as going 2-15. It's not. Like some people act like it, which I don't understand. But I think that if you go back to last year, what was our over under at Vegas? Like 7.5 wins.
That's right.
Yeah, and we did a lot of good things last year. I know it didn't end the way we wanted it to, but a big reason for that was bad luck. You win 10 games, you're supposed to make the playoffs. Winning 10 games and not making the playoffs, there's some bad luck there. And I know nobody wants to hear that, but statistically speaking, you win 10 games, you mostly get in.
First team in NFL history that's had back-to-back winning seasons and has not gone to the playoffs in either of those 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So I will say that if next year goes poorly, I might have a different opinion in the next offseason, but that will be 2 free agency periods and 2 drafts that John Schneider's had more or less complete control. So I think you can at least consider looking at things through a different lens. But right now, I don't think there's much to say about it other than we need to see what John's going to do now that he has control, and one off season's not enough. Remember, like, we didn't hire Mike McDonald until over a month after the season ended. So he didn't even really get to pick from the full pool of offensive coordinators. He took Grubb in large part because he was one of the few guys left. So even on that level, it's hard to totally judge him. Yeah, you could have done better. Yeah, you could have gone out and gotten Mark Trestman, and he would have been better than Grubb, like pretty much anybody would have been. But it wasn't even really like a full off season that he had. It was like a it was like a partial off season almost because he had to find the head coach first.
Yeah, it's and all of these there's intelligence behind what you're doing. Why did you take so long on Mike McDonald? Because you wanted to get the right coach, and you went through an exhaustive process to find the best and brightest candidate. And so if you had to make the choice of finding the fastest candidate or finding the right one, you chose the right one. It paid off for you. But then in choosing the right one, like you just said, you then had to wait till the 11th hour there to go find an OC when there wasn't a lot of OCs left. And you tried to get Arthur Smith in here, which would have been probably a better fit, but he didn't want to wait around on the coach to come in. And so these things are understandable why these things go the way they go on that. Like a Grubb failure isn't just a Grubb failure. If you had all these targeted OCs and you chose this one, just a pure bad pick, like Brendon just said, everybody else was off the board. So you could have gone with maybe a boring candidate that was also a retread, but instead, again, back to intelligence, again, about shooting for greatness, You went for the big swing candidate. Now you swung and you missed and you whiffed badly. You didn't come near the ball with Grubb, but you did try to swing big. And that's where we come back to, what are we trying to do as a team? Get ourselves out of mediocrity. What are we trying to do as a team? Try to ascend towards greatness. That's where we want to go get to. How do you do that? By making light swings, by making boring moves, by doing the things everybody else is doing? No, by trying to find those separating factors for where you can. And so even though it didn't work, I can still get behind it because you can understand the intelligence behind the process of how they ended up where they ended up last year.
Yeah. I still don't think the process behind the Ryan Grubb hire was bad. It just really didn't work out. And sometimes that's the way it goes. Ethan Posick didn't work out as a draft pick. I still think it's a good draft pick. It just didn't work out. Yeah.
It's a great way of putting it. And that's what's going to happen sometimes when you do swing big. Yeah, you go the lighter swings, you might get a little bit more of we're around league average at least, but you're not going to get to greatness. You're not going to get to a dominant unit on that side either, going that way of it. And so I like how they did. I like the fact that Grubb went with a spread guy. He didn't just go for the boring offensive coach that's just going to run. Like he went for the guy who was an exciting hire to try to roll. And even Kubiak here, I think, is an exciting hire, smart hire, and that you can see the intelligence behind it. So I think we're on the right path overall. It ain't perfect, and there's plenty of reason to have some criticism here, but overall, this thing's moving down the right road.
O'Dwyer 09, thank you for the €5.
Thank you, O'Dwyer.
Thank you, O'Dwyer. So I'm going to end the poll in 1 minute here on my end. We have
flash it back and forth if you can. Kind of flash them back and forth a bit.
Right. So this is mine, and this is Brandon's. I've been flashing back and forth throughout the whole stream. I don't know if you've noticed, but
I did notice. I'm just giving that one last look there.
So this is Brandon. I'm the one who took Kenneth Grant. Hawks Nest is the one who took Donovan Jackson. That's the best way to remember it. Although we have no overlap, do we? We didn't take any of the same player, did we?
We didn't, which is kind of interesting. You almost took Phillips, but we were able to kind of, which I like. We kind of mixed it up a little bit on that one.
Wait. Did I? Wait a minute.
You took Phillips. I think you took Phillips.
That was our one overlap, and I had to do it because he was still there after
the value is too good.
Yeah, at a certain point.
And then flip over yours one more time for my people. So that's mine, and then this is Brendon's over here.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and end the poll now.
All right, I'm ending the poll on my side as well here.
And it was 61% me, 39% you. I'm waiting for the actual vote totals. Okay, so
61 votes. I had Brendon. I had me at 59%, and you had 40%. So it sounds like each of our audiences basically flipped the sides basically. So we're 50-50 almost, Brendon.
Yeah, so we pretty much split it, which, hey, that's good. I figure that's probably the right way to go about things. That's probably like we're making people happy.
Well, I'll say we'll be happy with either of these two drafts. If these were the two hauls of either one, I don't have a problem with your draft. Any guys that really jumped out that I'm going to have any issue with, most of the guys you did like that I didn't necessarily take on my draft, I certainly would still go, hey, I'm perfectly fine with it. So if it ends out on either of these two drafts, I will be a happy man come draft day, come the end of draft.
All right. So this is going to be our final show until we get to the actual draft, I think, right? We're going to do a show Thursday night after our round one coverage, I think.
Yes, sir.
So final words on this draft. Let's think about this for a second here. Anything you want to say before we wrap this up and well, maybe not individually, but in terms of the dual show, hunker down and hit it for the 2025 draft.
John just needs to stay in the value chart on this draft. This draft's not as, that's like, the sometimes say in the NFL games, Brendon, like this is a big Belichick thing. It's not as much of like all the great things you do in the game. It's almost sometimes the mistakes that you avoid. And as I lead up to this draft, I feel like there's a lot of teams that are setting the stage to make some mistakes because of their desperation of their situations, be it maybe the quarterback situation, or maybe it's in the case of like a Giants team that's, got guys on the hot seat as far as front office and head coach goes. And John, really, if he can just stay in the pocket and take advantage of these mistakes, it's not going to be him then having some great draft where he just blows everybody away with his approach and process. It is instead about let them make their mistakes and you take advantage. And some of this is letting the board fall to you outside of maybe trading back in that first round and then just letting the rest of the board fall as it will. But that's really what I hope he operates from, because quarterbacks will be taken a little bit too high. Certain positions are going to have too much of a run on them. Running backs in the third round, I think we're going to see a glut of 7 to 8 or 9 of them. So you're going to have a real great player potentially landing in your lap there in that third round, or even that you could trade up in the third round to go target if you're seeing that kind of run in a particular player drop. So just if John can just stay in that pocket, I think he walks out of this, with the best draft class just on the sheer number of having 5 alone. That helps you, right, Brendon? Whenever they say who had the best draft class, they always give it to the ones who have the 15-9 picks. But just stay in that pocket, man, and you're going to come out of this thing with a hell of a draft.
Yeah, you don't say Houston won the 2023 draft when they have the number 2 and number 3 overall pick. Really, you don't say.
Oh, wow. What a reach on that one. Boy, you really went outside yourself to extend on that one.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so real quick here, you said you don't want to trade up no matter what, pretty much. You're not looking to trade up in that first round, pretty much no matter.
I don't want to trade up in the first round. The cost is going to be too high, especially this particular year. Because when there's so few blue chip players, if you're if your team picking those blue chip players, you're going to want maximum prices. Because when you move back, you're getting much lesser of a player to then move back.
Mm-hmm. So I did construct a few hypothetical trade downs. Mm-hmm. So I came up with, Seattle trades with Denver, our 18th. We pick up Denver's 4th round pick on top of getting 20.
Okay.
Would that be something you would be amenable to if you get there and you're like, we got a few different things we could do. I don't mind trading back 2 spots.
I don't mind doing that. I mean, but I would like to try to get into day 2. So if I'm going to go take that 4th round pick, I'd like to try to package the 2 4ths and a 5th to then get into, you have 2 5th round picks too. So I try to do something like that to get back in the 3rd round, because I do think you want to get back into day 2 here. I really do. I also would say if you move back to 20, that wouldn't hold me back from maybe moving back to back 27 with the Ravens. And now maybe with the Ravens, you pick up a 2nd rounder and you throw them a 4th rounder. You find that mix and match you throw back and forth. So you end up moving back twice. You find a way to get into, again, back up into the prime spot of this draft, in my opinion. So I would arch it that way, but it's 2 spots. I ain't against, you're not going to lose there's not a player you're losing out on that's significantly less at that point to bounce back like that.
Yeah. I also had a potential move back with the Steelers, 3 spots, picking up their 3rd rounder. Maybe you throw them back your 4th or 5th rounder to equal it out.
See, I think the Saints and the Giants are 2 teams to really look at as teams that move up in this draft with us to get ahead of it. We saw it in the draft that we ran in our mock where Shedeur went to Steelers, and he's going to the Steelers to me if all things are equal in the way that this plays out. And then that does mean that if you are the Saints and you went in, I thought the Saints are picking at 9. They're not at.
No. Steelers, I said.
Steelers. Sorry, I thought you said Saints. Yeah, so Steelers are definitely that team could move up there and get ahead of those teams that are trying to move up there too. Maybe even get in a bidding war, Brendon. Wouldn't it be great if you're sitting at 18 and you got Giants on one line if you're John, and then you got the Saints on the other line or the Steelers on the other line, and you're having to go back and forth, and you're able to start now maybe wrangling up that 1st round pick into next year. I mean, that's to me the holy grail is if you can come out of this draft with a 1st round pick in next year's draft, which is going to have so many great quarterbacks within it. Yeah, that's what I'd like to see.
Yeah, I also played with sending 18 to the Lions to pick up 28 and their 2nd round pick at 60.
All day, every day. I mean, that's a no-brainer to me if John can do that and do it.
And to me, the holy grail would be the Saints, send them 18, you get back 40 and their 1st round pick in 2026. That, I think, is the holy grail because that pick could easily be in the top 8.
100%. And I would do that all day if I'm in Seattle. It doesn't matter whether the Giants or the Saints. I take that risk and that gamble, right? The roll of the dice all day long. You're still getting the 2nd round pick. You're still getting just as many bites at the apple into day 1, basically day 1, day 2. You're just essentially a little later in a draft where the talent's going to be in that depth still good. But then, like you said, you come back around that 1st round pick and look, how did the Eagles land Jalen Carter? By trading with the New Orleans Saints so that they could get Trevor Penning. So Saints have literally done this also in the past before. Now, you wouldn't think they'd look at it as a success story, but is Loomis, we get back to desperation. Is Loomis a little desperate there with what he's got going on? Is he starting to eventually get?
He should
be. So take advantage of that, John. Jump on that with 2 feet.
Yeah. They're the perfect mix of a team that will probably be bad and a team that will probably delusionally convince themselves they'll be good.
100%. And hey, that pressure to try to keep your job, that's a lot of pressure, man. And that can cause you to do some silly, stupid things. Part of why I like the fact John's operating a little bit more clearly here and that you don't have necessarily the heat on him, because I don't know the general managers always operate There's a lot more of that. Screw the future. I'll do whatever I've got to do in the future for the now. It's all about, well, the house is on fire. How can I just put the fire out, more than like the damage being done?
Mm-hmm. All right, people. That was fun. We had a good show. I think we both produced mock drafts that people would find pretty palatable. I think we both did a really good job. And I think we both have done everything we can to prepare you guys for the 2025 NFL draft. So I've got a few more videos coming out over the next couple days where I'll talk about draft stuff, but that is going to be it for Brendon and Brandon this week until we actually get some draft stuff. So next show is going to be Thursday night. We don't know exactly when, because we don't know when our day one draft coverage individually will end. But once it ends, we're going to go live. Even if we trade out of the first round completely, we'll go live for at least a little bit to talk about whatever it is we got, right? That could
100%.
be really compelling.
Yeah, 100%. I would want to definitely talk about it, especially just discuss what happened in the first round ahead of us.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, see you guys then. I'll be streaming the draft. I'm sure, Brandon, you're doing your stream on the draft as well. So we're both going to be covering it live. And we got to hit it, man. We got to hit this. This is a big offseason. This is a big moment. And we're going to learn a lot about where this team is headed. We're going to learn a lot about the direction of the Seattle Seahawks in this post-Pete Carroll era. And all that's left for us, all we can do, all we can really control, because we can't tell the team what to do. We can't make the team do what we want them to do. All we can do is say, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.